A pleasant morning and welcome again to the 777 Prayer and Health Ministries, to your health and you. A look at health, healing, and restoration in preparation for the soon return of our God and King. This morning, we continue in our healing, Herbology 101, healing naturally utilizing herbs and plants for our benefit. And today we are talking about the psyllium. The psyllium husk, where you get the psyllium husk, the psyllium plant. It is a tremendous plant with great potential. Really and truly, the psyllium, ladies and gentlemen, it's an annual growing to 16 inches in 40 centimeters high with narrow leaves and clusters of minute white brown flowers. And as we talk about these herbs, we want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, that the lecture, the presentation is not intended to treat or diagnose any condition. We encourage individuals, if you're not well, to please see your healthcare provider. We encourage you not to utilize any of the recommendations in this lecture on this platform, except you talk with your healthcare provider. We are firm believers in preventative health, and thus we share this information in an educational format only. We also want you to know that we teach from three perspectives. We believe that the Bible is our rule of faith and practice. We believe in the Word of God, all of Scripture. We believe in good science, which supports the Scripture. We believe that there is false science, but there is good science for God's people, especially at this time. And we believe in inspiration. This is inspired writings that supports the Bible, and it supports science. And so that's the premise from which we come. So we encourage you to please be guided before utilizing anything we share this morning. Now, most of you're used to the psyllium husk. There are several species, if you please. The psyllium has been used really as a safe and effective laxative for thousands of years in Europe. Now, it's also used in North Africa and Asia. And it's a very small plant, basically. It has brown color. The psyllium husk and the seeds really have been mistaken for fleas, hence their folk name, flea and flea seed. In some places, that's how they're recognized. They are bland tasting and they swell when moistened, and they have a jelly-like consistency in the mouth. Now, the psyllium, I know, has been of great blessing to so many individuals. There are really three species that grow throughout Southern Europe, Asia, and Africa, and India extensively. They are cultivated, they are propagated from the seed in the spring, and they require plenty of sun. Now, one of the things you will realize, ladies and gentlemen, you have the key constituent in the psyllium really is the mucilage, okay? So in the psyllium, the mucilage is the key constituent. You have also fixed oil, which is about 2.5%, mainly linoleic and oleic and palmitic fatty acids that are found in there, and it has some amount of starch. Now, the psyllium is it's a demulcent, it's a bulk laxative, and it's anti-diarrheal, which is fascinating how this works. So many individuals who are dealing with constipation, it has been used effectively over the years as a real benefit and blessing for those who are constipated, and also for those who are having diarrhea. So it's amazing how it operates. Now, when we talk about regulating bowel function, ladies and gentlemen, there were several clinical trials in the US, also in Germany, and these trials, they were very helpful during the 1980s. And they have shown that the psyllium has both a laxative and an anti-diarrheal action. In 1998, clinical trial with 125 patients concluded that 5 grams of psyllium taken 3 times a day helped to lower blood fat and glucose levels in people with type 2 diabetes. Now, you know the big thing about type 2 diabetes. you're producing the insulin, but the insulin is not getting into the cell where, you know, it gives you the energy and the ability and the capacity to do your daily tasks. The insulin is blocked, the prevented rather from entering the cells. And what has prevented this insulin from getting in the cells? Well, fat in your body, fat covering your cells. And as a result, when the insulin seeks to enter, because there is fatty deposits all over your cells, the insulin cannot get into the cell, and so it elevates into astronomical numbers. You hear people, some 900, some weird numbers they're getting in the body. Then you're considered to be type 2 diabetic, and ladies and gentlemen, it can be a nightmare. Diabetic retinopathy, you know, you name it. It's just a nightmare. People have lost legs and toes and fingers, and it's a nightmare. So you want to control that diabetes. How do you do that? Or you want to prevent? How do you do that? By eliminating all animal products from your diet, ladies and gentlemen, because fat in the diet and fat on the body is what contributes or what leads to type 2 diabetes. The research has shown that throughout. You can check the literature, you will see that. Now, in order for you to deal with that, psyllium husk is excellent. 3 times a day, 5 grams of psyllium taken 3 times a day. It helps to lower your blood fat level and glucose levels for those who are dealing with type 2 diabetes. Traditionally, it has been utilized as a laxative. Most of us, we know psyllium husk. It's used in as a purgative, as a laxative. It's prescribed in conventional as well as herbal medicine for constipation, especially when the condition results from an over-tensed or over-relaxed bowel. You know, both the husk and the seeds contain high levels of fiber, which is really the mucilage that you hear me talking about. And what happens with mucilage is that it expands, becoming highly gelatinous in your gut when soaked in water. So by maintaining a high water intake, so when you have taken psyllium, you must increase your water intake because it's going to swell inside of you. If you don't take water with it, it's going to prevent you, ladies and gentlemen, from going. So it can be a blessing and it can be a challenge if you do not utilize it properly. So both the husk and the seeds, high levels of mucilage in it, and by maintaining that high water content within the large intestine, they really increase the bulk of the stool and eases its passage. Because of the oil content in the psyllium, it kind of really make that stool much softer, and it's able to go through that canal and exit the body easier without you having serious challenges with hemorrhoids, which you might realize as we talk more in the presentation, this psyllium is going to be helpful for those dealing with hemorrhoids. Now, contrary to expectation, psyllium is really useful for diarrhea because it's an effective treatment for many other bowel problems, including IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, ulcerative colitis is very important, Crohn's disease. In India, psyllium is commonly used to treat dysentery. And so it is, apart from just constipation, it has great benefits for those who are dealing with these conditions. Now, psyllium is also valuable for hemorrhoids. Now, you want to realize, ladies and gentlemen, that hemorrhoids can be a real problem. Hemorrhoids can be a real problem, ladies and gentlemen. And the psyllium is valuable for hemorrhoids. We're helping to soften the stool and to reduce the irritation of the veins in that, that lower tract, leading to the anus, because what happens is that those hemorrhoids, those veins are impacted. And so individuals who strain, there are these polyps, this expansion and these outgrowths, ladies and gentlemen, which create problems for many individuals who will bleed and all of these things because there is pressure made to bear on those veins burst open, and though many times there is the swelling inside there and the expansion and pulse and all kind of stuff. A lot of times we watch what goes here, but we don't watch what comes out down there. And it is good for you to at least observe what's going on. There are stool tests that you can utilize to see what's going on within you. It should not be too mushy and soft to the extent that it looks like you're having diarrhea, but it should not be overly tough like a rock and coming out in pellets, but it should be like in a banana shape and nice consistency. You see the oil and stuff which comes out. So that's very important for you to note in terms of examining what comes out, ladies and gentlemen, and to see it should not be too dark and ashy, neither should it be too yellow and looking gooey. It's kind of, you know, a nice healthy balance. So it indicates that your gut flora is really in a, your gut is really in a healthy condition. But as we would say, your microbiome, right? That's the word I was looking for. Your microbiome is really in a good state, ladies and gentlemen. So you have to watch those things. And one way of dealing with that issue, if you're having constipation, if you are having diarrhea, is to utilize your psyllium rather. You want to make sure you utilize that also for those dealing with hemorrhoids. Now, the other big thing that I want to share about the psyllium this morning, it is a detoxifying herb. You see the jelly-like mucilage produced when the psyllium is soaked in water? It has that ability, because if you know psyllium, you put it in water, it becomes very gelatinous, looks like a jelly. Well, that gelatinous, that psyllium that has that ability to become gelatinous, ladies and gentlemen, also has the ability to absorb toxins within the large intestine. So it functions not necessarily like charcoal in some sense, but it really pulls and it absorbs all those toxins in your intestine. It's commonly used to reduce autotoxicity, that is toxins expelled from the body within the husk and seeds into the feces. Many individuals who are struggling with digestive ailments, it's soothing, it's protective effects because of the jelly-like consistency, that mucilage. Ladies and gentlemen, very easy on your stomach, does not really burn or, you know, that kind of stuff. When you do some herbs, if you do not properly administer them, or when they go through your digestive canal, it can be very harsh on it. But psyllium is more protective because of the mucilage-rich husk and the seed benefits the whole gastrointestinal tract. Now, psyllium is really taken for the stomach and for duodenal ulcers and for acid indigestion. So it's very helpful for urinary tract infection. The demulcent action of the psyllium extends to the urinary tract. In India, there has been infusions of the seeds that's given with patients with urethritis. It's very, very helpful in those urinary tract infection. External use. So when the psyllium husks are soaked, an infusion with calendula, the calendula officinalis oil, they make an effective poultice, really for external use, for drawing out infection from boils, from abscesses and whitlows. You know, whitlows, those pus-filled swellings on the fingers. We hardly see them here. They're very popular in the Caribbean for especially women who wash a lot in water, and their hands are always in water. They will develop whitlow, but the psyllium, as the psyllium husk plus calendula, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to show you one of these Sundays on Cooking with Caleb, how you can make these poultices and these balms for the drawing out of infections and boils and stuff. These things are good to know. You might not have the situation, ladies and gentlemen, but it is of great benefit to you. So we're talking about chronic diarrhea, irritable bowel syndrome, constipation, difficult passage of the stool, and dealing with hemorrhoids, the psyllium husk. Now, What parts do we utilize? I'm glad you asked. The seeds, they should be soaked in water before they're used. The husk is generally powdered for use in a variety of preparation. You can purchase this. You also are encouraged not to exceed the stated dose. Always stay with plenty of water. So you have to drink a lot of water, because remember, it is swelling inside of you. And remember, your intestines are this big, and they can stretch this big, ladies and gentlemen. So you do not want to put added stress on the system by not having water. So make sure you have water, because they are expanding. It's expanding in you, and it can really create a situation if you do not follow through properly. So you have the cold maceration. For constipation, you can soak 20 grams of the seeds in a half cup, which is 200 milliliters of water for 10 hours, and you take the whole dose at night. You also have the capsules of powdered husk. For hemorrhoids, you can take 200 milligrams of the capsules 3 times a day. For the poultice, for boils, you can mix 5 grams of the powder husk with sufficient infusion of the calendula to make a thick paste. And then you apply to the area, and it will pull out whatever is in that wound or abscess or boil. So cheers, ladies and gentlemen, to the psyllium husk. Now, we are moving this morning to talk about herb or plant number 2. I don't know if you know it, but let me hop over here. Right, this is the one you might be familiar with. The other one is not really known by many in this Western side. The Chinese rhubarb. The Chinese rhubarb, dahang, as they would call it. It has long, ladies and gentlemen, been prized as very useful purge in herbal medicine, even for young children, due to its gentle action. This Chinese rhubarb, which you may have seen, it looks almost like your ginseng root, very similar. It's really a thick rhizome. Yeah, that's what you call those striated strap root looking. It's a thick rhizome perennial, and it grows to about 10 feet. That's about 3 meters, with large palm-shaped leaves and small flowers. If you're able to see my screen, you can see a picture of it. And it's really used for, it has been used for years in China and Chinese medicine, extremely effective treatment for many digestive problems. And paradoxically, ladies and gentlemen, the research here is showing that it is a laxative when taken in large doses, but has a constipating effect in small measures. So if you take a large amount of the Chinese rhubarb, it's gonna be a purgative, basically. And if you take small portions, it's gonna be constipating. So the rhizome of this Chinese rhubarb, it has an astringent effect, and it has a very unpleasant taste. So get ready to taste the bitter. It's just not necessarily bitter. When I taste it, it just tastes, you know, some things just taste bad. I don't know how else. It just have this, yeah, not very nice flavor or taste. Most of these herbs, sometimes they come across with that awful taste. So really and truly, ladies and gentlemen, it is a laxative, it's anti-inflammatory, it's an astringent, it stops bleeding, and it's antibacterial. If you are from certain country areas, you'll mainly see these growing by ponds and rivers and that kind of stuff, the broad leaves, and then it goes down with a kind of prop root, you know, the rhizome, but it's very, very useful, ladies and gentlemen. It has what we call anthraquinones and tannins. So it has anthraquinones and tannins in it, ladies and gentlemen. And it also has flavonoids, it has phenolic acid, it has calcium oxalate, which is something that individuals who are dealing with certain kinds of gout and all those stuff, plantar fasciitis, you know, pain-related stuff, you have to watch that oxalate content in your diet. So as anthraquinones and tannins, we find that this rhubarb has value because it's really and truly, It's a laxative and purgative property of the anthraquinones, and in large doses, the rhizome is strongly laxative. So there was a study that was done in 2007, which concluded that the anthraquinones in rhubarb possess promising anti-cancer properties that could have a broad therapeutic potential. So they have been studying this as we deal with cancer. It has also, ladies and gentlemen, antibacterial properties. The decoctions of the root have been shown to be effective against your Staphylococcus aureus bacterium that really cause those mouth sores, acne type infection of the beard area. In laboratory studies, this rhubarb has been found to have notable activities against the Helicobacter pylori, which is the HP pylori, which is a bacterium that causes stomach ulcers. So it's very, very, very positive work that has been done. When I looked at some of the research there, very positive work that has been done with the Helicobacter pylori. A lot of individuals who come down, especially from Afro-Caribbean context, you know, Africans, Caribbeans, we tend to have that HP pylori for several reasons, bacterium in our system, and most times it leads to stomach ulcers, gastric, all these kinds of different ulcers that impacts us. So one way of dealing with that H. pylori, ladies and gentlemen, is utilizing the Chinese rhubarb. Traditionally, it has been utilized in Chinese medicine for many reasons. It has been used for constipation. It has been combined with some other carminative herbs for laxative, for helping to clear your colon without causing excessive cramping. You know, when you use like certain other herbs, like you use the bitterwood and you use the psyllium and you use all these, you know, purgative, they cramp. You feel that cramping feeling in the colon, ladies and gentlemen, or in your intestine for that matter, because sometimes the pain shoots right up and you feel it, very cramping feeling. Well, the Chinese rhubarb, you can use that without experiencing those cramps, and it's very useful for treating constipation when the muscles of the large intestine are really weak. For diarrhea, the small dose of the root are astringent, relieving irritation of the inner lining of the gut, thus reducing diarrhea. The Chinese rhubarb can be applied to burns and boils and carbuncles. The herb acts as a tonic and a mild appetite stimulant and it serves as a useful mouthwash for mouth ulcers. So here's to the Chinese rhubarb. So if you're looking on my screen, you will see the rhizome, the fresh rhizome, and you'll also see the dried rhizome. So it contains the rhizome, ladies and gentlemen, is where you have the real healing potential. It contains the anthraquinones, really, which are laxatives and tannins, and they're also astringent. It's a mild appetite stimulant, and it really helps to improve digestion. The rhizome, when utilized, the fresh ones, that is. And how do you prepare it? Now, caution, do not take this if you are pregnant or you are breastfeeding. You have to be very, very careful. Of course, you can understand why, because whatever goes through the milk into the baby is going to affect the baby, and you do not want that baby to have diarrhea, do you? Or, you know, ladies and gentlemen, so do not take during menstruation, or if you're prone to gout or kidney stones. Really and truly, we do not use this herb with children. It can be very, very challenging with children. But you can use the decoction for an occasional bout of constipation. You can take about half a cup each evening, which is about 100 milliliters. You can use the tincture to stimulate the appetite. You can take 20 drops of this Chinese rhubarb tincture in water twice a day. And the tablets are one of the most convenient ways of taking the herb for occasional bouts of constipation. So the Chinese rhubarb, ladies and gentlemen, is of great benefit and great help to you this morning. We're almost at the top of the hour, and so we are grateful for what you have been able to partake of this morning as we talk about the psyllium husk and the Chinese rhubarb, the benefits and blessings of utilizing the herbs for the healing of nation. God has promised to bless his children. As I often say, health for you, health for me, health for all mankind. We pray that you will be blessed as you continue to heed the counsels of God.